Have you ever sat down for your weekly worship of the 1986 sci-fi classic Alien and thought, I wonder if there's a version of Alien set on a boat with a vampire instead of in space with H.R. Geiger's carnivorous dong? Yeah, me neither, but that's basically what The Last Voyage of the Demeter is. The writer even said so himself, but usually not wise to boast your source of inspiration when the final product is so close to your reference material. So let's see how much inspiration The Last Voyage takes from Alien, and spoiler, it's quite a lot, and not just in a cinema sins sort of way.
Get away from me, kid, you bother me.
But before we get into the similarities, a quick plot summary for the uncultured viewers that haven't read the Spark Notes for Dracula, because The Last Voyage really is just all the key beats from Chapter 7. At least that's what the Spark Notes tell me. For some reason, it seems like pretty much every adaptation of Dracula skims past this section of the book, and I'm not really sure why. So they put Dracula on a boat, and the trip's really long, and he gets really lonely, and he just has those needs that need to be met, and wrong book. The writer straight up said that Alien provided a lot of inspiration for his script, and I'm here to tell you that he is sure not lying about that. Oh my god. But before we continue with that, one of the things I want to tell you about is a very cool service that I've been using for years called Creative Lunch Club. Two of the best things about university were, one, I was surrounded by a bunch of fellow film nerds, and two, I got to make friends with people that would be my professional network further down the line. Except that I moved halfway across the world after I graduated, so a lot of that network fizzled out. But here is Creative Lunch Club, a super simple service that connects you with other creatives in your area once a month to help build your network. And when I say simple, I mean simple. Sign up, fill in like 3 lines of information about yourself, and you'll get matched with 2 other creatives from your city once a month. Regardless of if you're looking for someone new to collaborate with or just to make friends and share stories, Creative Lunch Club is a ton of fun. I have met so many cool people through Creative Lunch Club, and you can too by signing up. And if you use my link down below, you can support the channel in doing so. Anyway, I genuinely hope that you check it out, but let's get back to Twilight. Wrong movie. An unwitting crew harbors a mysterious cargo on a vessel that's destined for home. In Alien, the crew of the Nostromo don't mean to adopt the physical embodiment of peak performance and take it back to Earth like taking a kid to an unsupervised candy store. But in The Last Voyage, the captain sees dollar signs and takes the unmarked boxes on board without asking any questions, because that's how capitalism works, baby.
Find the nearest brothel and spend the next month absolutely up to your guilt.
Mr. Abrams.
Despite those differences, the crews in both movies do end up agreeing that their foreign friend who doesn't speak English very well definitely can't come home with them because it would be far too much of a culture shock. So, the only solution? Blow up the ship and drift away on the remnants, obviously. I can already hear you saying that plenty of other movies have done the whole doomed vessel story, so I can't be accusing The Last Voyage of stealing it from Alien. And you would be right if that was the only similarity. Let's talk about the crews of both vessels, because there's too much overlap for it to be a coincidence. We've got the captains, stoic, stubborn, but ultimately well-meaning and the unifying force of the crew.
Mr. Voyage!
Then the second in command, as stubborn as the captain but doesn't see eye to eye with them. The child, whiny. Actually, Toby doesn't do a whole lot of whining, so we can leave that to Larson. But I'd say that counts.
I know what a brothel is anyway. It's a place we pay women to take off their knickers.
And then the hands for hire, the crewmates that only care about how they'll spend their bounty when they get home, usually on blackjack and hookers.
Find the nearest brothel and spend the next month absolutely up to your guilt.
Mr. Abrams.
I'd rather be eating something else, but right now I'm thinking of food.
And of course, the smarty pants, the patient voice of reason, and they'll need that patience because nobody's gonna fucking listen to them until it's far too late. And most importantly, the pet.
This here is Huckleberry, but we just call him Huck.
So definitely a lot of overlap between the two, but there are a few essential differences. The first one is that they don't kill Jonesy in Alien. Spoiler, but they kill Huckleberry first in The Last Voyage. That alone is enough to justify the score on Letterboxd. But the other difference is that the Demeter doesn't have a traitor on board, nobody that fills the same role as corporate milk boy does in Alien. Instead, we have Dracula's bedside snack, who was sent along for the trip, and she's a vampire. Okay, so they did have a traitor on board.
I'm coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine.
Jokes aside, I do like that this movie does try to validate Bryan Johnson's freaky blood incest stuff by having Clemens nurse Anna back to health by providing her with regular blood infusions. But then the FDA comes in to crash Mr. Immortal's dreams because the infusions only delay Anna's turn to the dark side, which leaves Clemens as the sole survivor of the Demeter. Except for Dracula. Dracula survives too. That's kind of a core part of the story. Speaking of Dracula, his design is probably the most interesting choice that this film makes. Dracula the Xenomorph. No, I don't mean that they turn him into a Geiger-esque metaphor for human genitalia, but this movie has Dracula grow from each kill, just like how we watch the Xenomorph grow as it eats through the crew of the Nostromo. When we first see Dracula, he looks like your average Polish League of Legends player. Pallid, terrifyingly skinny, and deathly allergic to going outside. But with each kill, his frail frame slowly bulks out to develop into a more imposing figure. Until he turns into a bat. Not even a Christopher Nolan man bat, just a straight up supersized bat. This version of Dracula scares me less than if I were to see a League of Legends player in real life. If my snarky comments weren't enough to give it away already, I don't think this movie's very good. Now, it's not really bad, but it doesn't rip off Alien very well, and it's also victim to its own premise. See, this movie falls into the same trap that pretty much every pre-sequel will fall into. If the audience already knows what happens after your story, then you might as well bury your stakes in weird Bulgarian crates of Romanian dirt. The audience goes into this movie knowing that everyone dies by the end, so there's no tension here. If someone gets bitten, you know they're gonna die, even when the movie pretends that they won't. And oh my god, this movie loves to pretend that they won't. And that really makes the 2-hour runtime feel like an eternity. We all know they're gonna die. Just get it over with already. Slap on some pretty lackluster scares and you've got a 2.5-star time. Oh, and Clemens does make it back to London and spots Dracula in a pub while doing the sequel bait monologue. So let's make that 2 stars, actually. So don't go watch the last Voyage of the Demeter. I think you'd probably have more fun watching me talk about the crazy cool alien design in The Edge of Tomorrow. Or if you want an algorithms pick, then YouTube thinks this other video is even more fun than that for you specifically.